On this from a lawmaker. Joining us now from Capitol Hill is Democratic Senator Tom Carper of Delaware, who sits on the Senate Finance Committee. Great to have you with us this afternoon. And I want to start with a line from that statement I mentioned, that joint statement signed by Republican leadership in the House and Senate and the White House as well. As the committees work toward this end, our hope is that our friends on the other side of the aisle will participate in this effort. It sounds like Republicans are keen to make a seat available at the table. Are you going to avail yourself of that? Do you foresee sitting down to talk about tax reform with your Republican colleagues?
Yeah, I think a good example is what we're now about to do with respect to health care. And what we're about to do is regular order. And regular order involves holding open hearings, bipartisan hearings, inviting in smart people to give us their ideas, the opportunity for CBO to come in, folks that can come in and help us answer 4 questions. One, is the proposal before us, is it fair? Does it foster economic growth? Does it simplify or make the tax code more complex? What does it do to the budget deficit? Those are the kinds of questions that should be asked, especially how does it foster economic growth? Businesses need certainty and predictability. I was governor of Delaware for 8 years, focused a fair amount. 8 years, out of those 8 years, 7 years, we cut taxes, but we did so in a way that did not unbalance the budget. It left us with 8 years of balanced budgets. And we ended up with more jobs created in those 8 years than any 8-year period in the history of the state of Delaware. One of the things businesses tell me they need about tax code, some certainty, some predictability. They want to have a place at the table.
To tell you how important Delaware is to the American business community, of course, as you talk to executives, more granularly, what would they like to see? Where do you see agreement between what you think needs to happen with tax reform and what Republicans are saying they need to see happen with tax reform?
Yeah, my hope, some of the Republicans, not all, but some people say we can just cut taxes, and even though CBO tells us it's going to increase the deficit by $1 trillion or $2 or $3 trillion, that's okay because of dynamic scoring. Somehow the deficit will take care of itself. I think more reasonable Republicans say no. If we're going to reduce rates and somehow corporate rates or whatever, at the end of the day, this has to be deficit neutral.
You have a few more
I
hours.
think that's something Democrats would agree on.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're not interested in seeing is the tax cuts for the very, very wealthy, and to the extent that we can provide lower corporate tax rates to help make America continue to be an attractive place to which to locate and grow businesses. I think there'll be common ground there.
What's your message going to be to your constituents when you head back to Delaware? You got a few more hours in Washington, D.C. before this summer recess kicks in. No doubt there are going to be some questions about lack of progress or what happened with the health care debate or the degree to which Democrats engage with Republicans and vice versa. What's your message going to be about whether or not the U.S. Senate is working at this point in history?
I'm actually encouraged that we sort of hit the pause button on health care reform, and under the leadership of Lamar Alexander, Republican from Tennessee, Patty Murray, Democrat from Washington State, we're going to hit the pause button. We're going to focus on stabilizing the exchanges, which we need to do. And the third thing is to go regular order. Bipartisan hearings, bipartisan roundtables, inviting governors, insurance commissioners, health insurance, health economists, you name it, doctors, nurses, to say these are the things that we need to do to fix in the Affordable Care Act. These are the things we need to do to preserve in the Affordable Care Act. And I think people are encouraged, I am, that we can actually use this as a confidence building process and maybe do and pivot and start to including transportation infrastructure and including tax reform.
What's your message to investors who may be watching or listening to you now who are worried about or wondering about what's going to happen with regard to the budget, funding of the government, and the debt limit? Do you see a path forward here? Do you see Democrats and Republicans working together to avert some sort of showdown here at the end of September?
I think neither side wants to be blamed for a shutdown of our government. That's I sort of hate to claim that as a victory. We should be aiming a lot higher than that. One of the things I keep going back to is Bowles Simpson. 6-7 years ago, they had a combination of revenue increases and deficit reduction methods to be able to provide long-term economic growth, but also sound fiscal policy as well. I don't know if we could ever go back to that. That was a great blueprint. And one of my great disappointments was we were never able to fully embrace that. The President embraced it late in the game. John Boehner embraced it late in the game. Unfortunately, Speaker Boehner was told by his folks in his caucus, you want to embrace that, count us out. And so unfortunately, that never really happened. Something like that is what we actually do need. It may be the triumph of man's hope over experience that we're going to do that.
Senator Carper, great to speak with you this afternoon. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's Senator Tom Carper of Delaware joining us from Capitol Hill this afternoon. Coming up, the Trump